And we're live. Welcome to the Lakers Outsiders. I just realized I'm sitting really casually. I am here with Ben Rosales and with Harrison Fagan. Ben wrote an in-depth, incredible piece for Silver Screen and Roll about all of the summer league that's coming up and everything that we can potentially look for. So I can't think of anybody better to talk to about the subject. Ben, how are you holding up? Are you on a scale of 1 to 10? How thrilled are you for this weekend?
Pretty high, like a 9. This is my first time I've been to Vegas in quite a while. So besides the fact that we're seeing Lakers Summer League, the city itself should be a lot of fun.
Right. Since a significant age, since you passed a significant
Yes,
age, I believe.
yes, a certain significant age has made things a lot better.
uh, we also have Harrison. Harrison, you will also be going, but you will be you're going to be the superstar out there and be credentialed for Silver Screen and Roll. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you at?
It's a day before, so I'm actually more nervous than excited now. I'm just trying to make sure that I pack the right clothes and I just don't completely embarrass myself trying to go in there and act like a real reporter. So
Yeah,
I might have to go around the locker room asking guys in and out or Whataburger though, because it seems like me and Clarkson, like I could maybe get a source that way, but like the rest of the roster, I have to imagine is gonna stick with the popular fan perspective.
I mean, I kind of want to throw aside the entire, game plan for this show and just have everybody just sit here and stare at you judgingly for your Whataburger versus an outtake.
I mean, I feel like that would be boring, but yeah, I mean, people have been throwing eggs at me all week on Twitter, so thanks everybody for publicizing that take.
I think Vegas has both out there, I believe. I know they have In-N-Out. I'm not sure if they have
I don't think they have
Whataburger.
Whataburger.
Mm.
I'm not sure about
I think
that
that's
either.
mostly in like Texas, isn't it?
I know it's stretched into Arizona. I know
Oh,
there are
okay.
Whataburgers in Arizona, but yeah, that'd be great if there was. We could do like a taste test, and that could be a little mini show. So I guess back to the summer league. Uh, burgers aside, Ben, what's the number one thing you're looking forward to this weekend and then heading into next week?
It's mostly some combination of the Russell, Clarkson, and Randall trio. I mean, they're the three best players in the team. We've spent the past few weeks kind of waiting to get our first glance of Russell in real game time. We've waited a really long time, nearly a year, to see Randall again in real game time. So those are the two. Those Russell, yeah, but more Russell and Randall. Seeing them on the court will be the big expectations. But I mean, Clarkson, as I alluded to in my piece, he might be the best player in the team at the moment. I mean, Russell's still a rookie. He has to adjust to NBA game speed, the speed of the defenders, and what have you, even though I'm sure he'll do all that eventually. Randall's coming off a major injury, so he might still be effective, but probably not as much as he would if he was 100%. But Clarkson's presumably healthy. He's just coming off an all-rookie season. He is apparently hitting threes really well in practice, according to Byron Scott. So we'll take that for as much rope as we can give it, I suppose. But I mean, so those three guys are big. But I mean, there are a ton of other guys. Nearly the top 8 or so guys in the rotation are all worthy of some sort of look. And this is an incredibly deep team. So practically every minute they're on the court, there's probably someone compelling on the team someone with a future on the parent Laker team that's worth watching or worth analyzing. So it should be good. There's a lot of storylines to cover. There's a lot to look at.
Especially considering the teams that the Lakers are going to be playing against. I know
Right.
you're not going to be able to get out there for Friday's game, which I think is the most highly anticipated summer league game in quite a long time, right,
Yeah.
Harrison? 'Cause you're looking at the top two picks going up against each other. Zach LaVine going up against Jordan Clarkson. Those guys put up very comparable numbers at the end of the season last year. You're going to be out there obviously for Friday. What's the matchup you're most looking forward to there?
I mean, they aren't really going to be playing against each other, like matching up on each other, so to say. But, every player in the NBA is competitive. But D'Angelo Russell seems to have almost like a special level of chip on his shoulder. And I'm really looking forward to him trying to murder Carl Towns.
I don't know how he'd go about murdering him, but I could see like a pick and roll where Towns switches out onto him
I
and
mean, he's going to try and
Russell has
cross him up.
to.
He's going to do like there's going to be a moment in that game where they end up one-on-one, and he's going to try and embarrass him.
Right, right. I think for me the thing I'm most looking forward to is just that moment where the three of them are on the court at the same time. Like it sounds ridiculous for us to call them the big three right now, but they are, right? They are
Yeah.
they are the cornerstone of the Lakers franchise, and we get to see them literally from day one. This is Russell's day one and on. These guys all get to grow together, and we'll be along for the ride. You are, I would say, as high as anybody I know on Robert Upshaw, right? That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Robert Upshaw. You put his. I know in a tweet we had back and forth, you set his odds at making the roster at 80%. I'm down near 50. What's the number one reason why I should be more optimistic, Ben?
For Upshaw, I mean, I find it very hard to think about that the Lakers won't pass on his upside. I mean, they haven't yet. I mean, we thought they would trade Ryan Kelly and Robert Sacre in the Roy Hibbert trade, and they haven't done so yet. I mean, Upshaw's talent is just too much to pass on. Quite frankly, for a team that's still, even despite the big three we hopefully will have. I mean, Upshaw's a lottery talent. I mean, Upshaw is one of those rare big men that's mobile, shot blocker, huge for his position, is not a total stiff on offense. So I mean, I mean, if he doesn't completely flame out in summer league, he looks decent. I feel you have to give him a shot. I mean, he does have the risk of with all his character issues of playing. I know he said that he has the team of Josh Hamilton style minders. He's a psychologist, what have you. But I mean, all it takes is a moment of bad decision for this all to kind of come flaming, come down in flames. So I mean, but I still think in a summer league environment he'll look really good. He has the big three we just mentioned. All those guys are going to create for Upshaw, create opportunities. So it's not like he has to go and get his own points out there. Russell and Clarkson are both going to find him. They could run 4 or 5 pick and rolls with him and Randall. I mean, there's be all sorts of opportunities for him to get, and then as long as he looks competent there, I feel fairly confident. I mean, that he'll very least get a camp invite. And then also remember that even if Sakura is still there, don't consider his spot on the team as something. Right. I mean, he makes under $1 million. I mean, we're no longer in the tax, so the team won't feel much compunction about letting him go. I mean, $1 million is kind of a drop in the bucket as far as the Lakers and what they make. So I'm pretty comfortable in saying he'll make it just because of his sheer talent, with allowances made for kind of his character issues and how perilous that could be, especially on. I mean, I know we've added some kind of high character guys. All the rookies seem to be high character. Hibbert, by all accounts, has a good work ethic. I mean, the worst character guy, so to speak, on the team might be Nick Young, and he's not really locker room cancerous in so much as he's kind of carefree. So I mean, he's not gonna be like a guy that's gonna drive Upshaw back to his demons, so to speak. So I mean,
I mean, I would actually. Sorry to interrupt you, but I would say I don't know. I think you guys probably read Clarkson's piece in the Players Tribune yesterday, and he actually went out of his way to mention Nick Young a couple times as one of the veterans that really took him under his wing last year, and like was making sure that he felt involved with the team even when he wasn't playing, which could be something that's really good for Upshaw.
Right, and I'm trying to figure out the chances that Mitch Kupchak petitioned the league to move the summer league from Vegas to literally anywhere else in the country.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Lakers should have participated in the summer league in Utah since
Yeah.
See, I would almost argue the opposite, because what better test are you going to have to see if he's overcome his vices than Vegas?
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, if you can make it there, you can make it in. No, it's not New York, but
LA comes close. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I do like his chances. I did see some of the highlight stuff, and you're right. It was boggling my mind that you were talking about a lottery talent that went undrafted completely.
Right.
The one thing I guess I'm a little worried, and you had I forget what the exact joke you had on Twitter was, but the Miami Heat had a player on their summer league roster recently whose name is passing me by. I think it's Willis something.
Willie Reed?
Willie Reed, right? Yeah, he was playing really really well for him, and Brooklyn came in and took him, out from under their right from under their nose. Do you think the Lakers just move quickly here on Upshaw and just give him some kind of deal to avoid that kind of risk?
Um, I don't think it's that much of a risk. I'm under the understanding that the Orlando Summer League is wrapping up. I don't know quite what the date is, but I'm pretty comfortable on the knowledge that he's not going anywhere, at least until Summer League is concluded. I mean, there might be the possibility, but from his interviews and such, he sounded pretty excited about the prospect of playing in LA and playing for the Lakers. I mean, and I think if the Lakers are willing to come up to him and offer him a deal, then I think he'll probably be very receptive to that. Also, remember that even if he does play well, there were 29 other teams who passed on him in the draft at some point and decided not to take them. So a lot of those issues with his character could still be outstanding. So even if he does go into Vegas and plays really well, there could still be those teams who are unwilling to take a shot at him. So that should depress the market for him. So maybe we end up with a situation like Jeremy Lin, where it comes down to how much money you want to guarantee him, which could be risky. I mean, you don't want to guarantee, even if hundreds of thousands of dollars aren't much for the Lakers, it might not be a great thing for a guy with his issue. You want him to keep on hitting these milestones or keep on earning
that stay.
Right, his way through the league. So I mean, we'll see how it goes. I'm still pretty comfortable because I mean, and the last few years, the Lakers have won it off their own summer league teams. They've by and large been able to keep. So Elias Harris, Marcus Landry, Gerald Green, and we might not have ultimately kept all of them, obviously, but the ones that we did like were the ones that
at least showed up on the D League roster.
Yeah, that too made it show, or at least I was gonna say showed up to training camp. And I think if he made it to training camp, then you pretty much, it's up to him at that point to make it, since the Lakers wanted to make it at that juncture.
So Harrison, when we talked about Upshaw's potential, and I'm not going to say we glossed over. They were the first people we mentioned were the rookies that are, and the young players. Tarek Black isn't a rookie. Obviously, Clarkson isn't a rookie any longer. But what realistic expectations do you have for somebody like Clarkson? Do you just, like Ben said, he could be the best player on the court for the Lakers? Are we thinking any kind of points, assist to turnover ratio? What are you thinking?
I don't know if I want to put any stats on it because we don't know, number one, like for sure how Mark Madsen is going to distribute the touches between them and what their roles are going to be. But I don't think it's a stretch to say that Clarkson could average 20 points.
Yeah, and it was funny to me that we saw Byron come out and say that they're not going to play Randall any more than 30 minutes, and it's like that's 3/4 of a game.
Was anybody else though pretty encouraged by the kinds of things he was saying though about rotation wise and that kind of thing today? It was probably the first time I've ever been reading reporters transcribe a bunch of Byron quotes, and I was just sitting there waiting for him to say something dumb, and it just never happened.
Right. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. I'll say that. Is that fair? Is that a good way to put it, Ben?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's had more than enough foot-in-mouth moments that I think we can reserve judgment on whether he's supposedly turned the corner, since he's been pretty incorrigible in terms of how he's run things. So, I mean,
Maybe that was too strong of phrasing, but
Right.
it was definitely encouraging to read that stuff today.
Right.
Right. And I mean, at the end of the day, I don't think there's many directions you could go with this roster that would be wrong. I mean, it's so
Don't say
malleable at
that.
this point. No, I mean,
Yeah.
right. I dare you, Byron. But it is an extremely malleable, extremely versatile roster at this point, right? I mean, they're obviously going to play a little bit slower with Hibbert, but I mean, they could trot out a lineup where they play Randall at the 5 and just run like crazy, right? That's what I'm looking forward to the most in this
Yeah.
similarly.
And then
Go ahead.
and on that subject, I mean, both Russell and Clarkson, in their interviews were continuously emphasizing that the team was going to get out and run, and that all these guys could start breaks. So I mean, and it's true. I mean, a rebound comes down if you have all three of Randall, Clarkson, and Russell out there, and all those guys are very good rebounders. I mean, they could catch it. I mean, Anthony Brown was very good in transition last year at Stanford. Both Black runs the floor well. Maybe Upshaw not so much, but I mean he's big, so he's a big target. So I mean, yeah, they could be really, really up tempo. Lots of semi-transition stuff, lots of semi-transition threes. So it'll be fun.
Well, I mean that kind of takes us to the not this isn't an awkward segue for once, but kind of talking about the moves that the Lakers made official today. We already spoke about Hibbert now at length, but I think in this sense Hibbert is the perfect player or rebounder because he's not the kind of rebounder who will go out of his way to get boards, whereas he's much better at boxing everybody out to ensure somebody else on his team grabs a board. And if that's the case, then you have somebody like Randall who can go coast to coast after he grabs a rebound or can at least take 2 dribbles and find a guard and get that break going. I get more and more excited about this Hibbert trade the more I think about it. Where do you stand on it, Ben?
Oh, I'm very excited for it. I mean, Randall needs a rim protector. As you said, they do have a lot of synergy in that respect from the rebound, since we haven't seen it yet since in the pros, in the brief snapshot we've had of Randall's in the pros, since Randall's never been last summer league. He wasn't all up with his conditioning, so he didn't look that great on the boards. But I mean, he was fantastic at Kentucky in that regard, so the two should work well in that respect. On offense, I mean, Hibbert is pretty decent out to 17. He was shooting, I think, in the high 40s from out to about 17 feet or so, and it's not great spacing, but it's some spacing for Randall, so they should be able to work well in that regard also. So, I mean, yeah, so I mean, there are very few complaints as far as fit with Hibbert. Even if so, I mean, it's pretty much a slam dunk acquisition on the court. Even if you don't think and even with the issues about pace mollified, as you said, because Hibbert doesn't grab the rebound. Even if he does, I think he'll be pretty decent, or at least learn to be decent at, hey, I need to throw an outlet really fast to find some guy who's going to get ahead.
Right, and Harrison, in terms of the number of options he'll have, the starting lineup that the projected starting lineup, at least for most of next season, could look something like Russell, Clarkson, Kobe, Randall, and Hibbert. Hibbert has 4 options now to start a break. That. To Ben's point, where he says, even if I do grab the rebound, just find the first person available. That's a lot of guys to just get the ball and go, right? In my opinion, this could be a fun team to watch.
Yeah, I think it definitely will be. I was actually going to mention when you were talking about their transition game in summer league, that like the hardest part of having a credential is going to be if they get a couple alley-oops in a row, or like someone gets dunked on really hard, is not like jumping up and celebrating or in the media seats, just doing a little fist pump under the table or something, maintaining professionalism.
I think you're allowed to be impressed in a platonic, non-rooting sense. I think that's great.
No, I could just see, because Ben won't be credentialed, Gary won't be credentialed, I won't be credentialed. we're just going to be all sitting in a row, and we're going to be rooting our asses off, and we're just going to point and look at Harrison like, look at all the fun we're having, buddy. No, yeah, you can acknowledge a great play, and with these lines,
I just have to like yell "Yay basketball" or something.
Perfect.
Like nonpartisan.
How about the other transactions, Harrison? With they brought in Brandon Bass and they brought in Lou Williams. There is some redundancy between Williams and Nick Young, but if they can, idealistically they dump Young. Even if they don't, though, it seems like decent moves, right?
Yeah, I think that like to start things off, I don't think that Nick Young is going to play a tremendous amount. I just think he's going to get squeezed a little bit, or like he'll play the majority of his time at small forward if he does play. But I actually like the Lou Williams pickup a lot more than I thought I would. I just wasn't super familiar with his game. I just thought he was kind of a traditional gunner when I first saw the signing, and so I thought, it was like with Young it was a little bit redundant. But then I went in to kind of actually look at his stats to do like a quick breakdown for Silver Screen and Roll, and he's the rare. Somebody said it. He's the rare efficient gunner. He he shoots near about around 40% from the field, a little above, but his true shooting percentage is like 54% or something like that.
Right.
Because he draws a ton of free throws, and he's a pretty good 3-point shooter from the corners too. So I think he can play alongside Russell and Clarkson because they both have the size to play two. And that could be a really solid 3-guard rotation for the next couple of years while he's signed. I'm more excited about it than I thought I would be.
And then the Bass signing freaked a lot of us out, right? I know the initial reaction was no. This is, he's definitely the kind of player who Byron will play over Randall. Ben, where do you stand on Brandon Bass?
Yeah, I had the initial reaction. As long as he's not playing too much, I mean, near the start of the year, he might play a bit more to kind of edge Randall into the rotation, because Randall is, again, coming off a serious injury, so we still have to be careful with that. But yeah, I mean, if all he is ultimately Randall's backup and he's playing 15, 20 minutes a game and Randall's getting the rest of it, I'm perfectly fine with it. He's very, very good in that role. He's a solid player from mid-range. He's still decently athletic. He's okay defensively, but I mean for backup, and for the price we're getting him at, since we're getting him. I'm still we got him with cap space. I'm not sure what the exact figures are, but it's around
It
$3
can't
million.
It can't be that high.
Yeah, it's around $3 million or so. So I mean, it's a solid value signing, and it's okay if Larry Nance doesn't play his first year. He'll get a lot of D-League time, and hopefully after that he'll be ready come 2016 and beyond. So if that's the way it works out, that's fine. But I mean, it's incumbent on Byron organizing the rotation in such a way that Randall doesn't get marginalized. And Bass is just in that little sweet spot of being good enough that you want him to play, but not good enough that you want him to play over one of your more promising players. So,
Right.
And I mean, even next year, we don't. I mean, the Lakers will be more competitive, but it's not to say we should throw away the development time of our youth, since they're the foundation moving forward, and making sure that they're good and accounted for is still the highest priority.
Now you mentioned that the Lakers might be more competitive. Harrison, you have the exact quote of what Mitch Kupchak said about the playoffs?
I don't have the exact quote right in front of me, but it was something like he didn't think that they could rule it. I don't see why not when asked about making the playoffs. Let me see if I can find it really quickly.
Yeah, I can go ahead and keep talking. I'll find it.
Okay.
But if that is the sentiment, what's your reaction to it?
So if it's along those lines, which it was something like that, I mean, I think we can see a lot of reasons that the Lakers can't make the playoffs. Reason number one, just being as much more interesting and exciting and young as they don't have the talent level to compete with the rest of the teams in the West, which is just a bloodbath. Like, I mean, maybe it would be possible in the East. I still kind of have my doubts, but yeah, they aren't getting in the West. Even though Portland and Dallas are pretty much likely out, I think, like, I'm trying to think of who's going to be in from sure. OKC is going to be back.
Then Utah should also be pretty good next year.
Yeah.
New Orleans made it last year, so they'll also. And then Phoenix also, with Chandler in the mix. Even if they lost some pieces, they should also. I mean, they're better than the Lakers are right now.
Yeah, I mean, they should be interesting. They should be,
right.
Yeah, exactly, more competitive than the Lakers. You would think the Kings could possibly even be more competitive than the Lakers.
Yeah, this via Serena Winners, Mitch Kupchak said it's a little early to tell, but, quote, I don't see why we don't contend for a playoff spot. And for all those reasons that you listed, we should just be kind of laughing at Mitch.
Yeah.
It might be that, they did snap a picture of the team arriving in Vegas already. Mitch might be partaking in Vegas activities already. He, might be a little high on life.
Well, and on top of all of that, I mean, even with Hibbert in the fold, I mean, you're talking about a starting lineup that has Russell, who wasn't good on defense last year, Clarkson, who wasn't good on defense last year, Kobe, who hasn't played good defense in 3 to 4 years, and Randall, who's also not great on defense. So, I mean, Hibbert's very good on defense, but he's not enough to account for the fact that the Lakers have no wing defense right now. So, I mean, if Hibbert drags them out of the bottom 10 in defensive efficiency, he probably should make the all-defense team next year.
Well, like, that's what I was kind of saying. It's like, I still don't see them getting out of, like the 20s in defensive efficiency.
Yeah.
It's just, there's just too many, like, leaks for one guy to plug.
Right.
Right, and I could see quite a few games in our foreseeable future where Hibbert has 2 fouls by the time he's done warming up for the game.
Yeah,
with all everybody's going to be going at him at the rim. So I don't see this is where I think, and I just wrote an article today for Forum Blue and Gold, shameless plug, that basically said, the number one reason why some people were unhappy with the Lakers offseason was because of the way our expectations blew up once we saw that the Lakers might be in contention for LaMarcus Aldridge, and they're going to have a meeting with DeAndre Jordan. Once we started expecting certain things, and then we get to Plan B, just by definition, Plan B is a step back. Here's where, if I'm the Lakers, you have to be able to manage your fans' expectations. When you say things like, I don't see why we can't compete for a playoff spot, well, now you have the majority of your fans saying, oh, do you think that, you really think that's really going to happen? And that's not ideal, even for a rebuilding team. You don't want to have to speed up that process. So am I crazy there, Ben?
No, not at all. I mean, you're right. I mean, a lot of this offseason has been about managing expectations. So, I mean, there's been a lot of doom and gloom about the Aldridge and the Jordan, how they approach those meetings, how the split between the marketing aspects of the meetings and the basketball side and what have you. But, I mean, that kind of obscures the fact that we got meetings with them in the first place after a 20-something win season. So, I mean, that, I feel, in and of itself speaks to the franchise's continued stature more than anything. Even if they're going in those meetings and not giving very effective pitches, I mean, what pitch can they realistically give? I mean, it's hard to say they can improve, or that, for instance, Jeannie Buss might want to tone down the, hey, you can be a star in LA side of things, and more the, hey, we and Mitch Kupchak, Byron Scott, and Jim Buss, well, I mean, not Jim Buss, since he doesn't sound great when he speaks, but Mitch Kupchak can emphasize the, hey, we have a great young core that's developing. But even all of that notwithstanding, I mean, they got meetings with them, and they got meetings with pretty much every other major free agent in the market that they were interested in. So, I mean, it's I mean, and they somehow convinced, I mean, getting Lou Williams at that price, and Lou Williams just won Sixth Man of the Year. He should be heading to some contender right now to fortify their bench, and he decided that he wanted to go to a 20-win team for a relative bargain. I mean, 21 million over 3 years will be nothing, and just next year. I mean, it'll be
Just next year,
it'll be a tiny percentage of the cap. And as like Harrison said, we now have between Russell, Clarkson, and Williams, we have a pretty solid 3-man rotation. So I mean, I can't complain about that. And all in all, I mean, the teams managed to plug a lot of the holes in the roster. A good number of them in a fashion much better than I thought they could coming into this offseason. Since, I mean, coming in, we never had any aspirations for getting DeAndre Jordan, for getting LaMarcus Aldridge. We thought, like, Tobias Harris and some pieces might be a great offseason. And we got a really good rim protector. And we got the sixth man of the year. And we got some other depth. Hopefully we get more wing depth, and hopefully we dump Nick Young, but you can't wish for everything. But on the whole, I mean, this is a pretty successful offseason. And then, I mean, I think the team honestly will be more competitive next year than with kind of the pie in the sky. If they got like Tobias Harris, for instance, and pretty much nothing else, I think we're more competitive now than we were in that vision.
In that scenario, right?
Right.
I would say, I mean, if you had to give it a grade, Harrison, I know I lobbed up this question to you, I think a couple weeks ago when the Lakers had signed literally nobody. If you had to grade this offseason, where would you go with it?
Probably a B. I mean, I don't see how it can go much lower than that, just because I honestly think, I mean, at least for this season, like, I guess locking up Aldridge, like, for a couple of years would have been, I guess, a good, like, sign for the franchise or whatever. But I honestly think Hibbert's like acquiring Hibbert is a better move, at least on the court for this year, than getting Aldridge would have been.
Yeah, and that, you know, the key term in there is this year. It's only this year. It's a low risk, high reward bet where if he does play really, really well, fine. I tried. Ben, do you understand how the bird rights are gonna work with Hibbert here?
Oh, they have his full bird rights. I mean, they got him in trade. If you get a player in trade and he's been on the team he was for at least 2 years, you have him for the upcoming year. I mean, you have full bird rights, so that's not an issue at all. They can offer him when he becomes a free agent. They can offer him the extra fifth year, the extra raises, all the advantages of incumbency that we've kind of been discussing with other free agents in the past few years. We have that ability. And also, I mean, even under the new cap, and even considering how good he is on defense, I mean, Hibbert's not a max guy. So, I mean, and essentially he's going to be 29. Being able to offer that fifth year against the Lakers, a lot of benefits for being an incumbent than other teams would have. Other teams would have to overpay in the situation more than what the Lakers could. So it'll be like with the Heat deal with, say, Goran Dragic this offseason, they were able to get him for a little cheaper per year over 5 years than other teams would have had to offer over 4, and hopefully the Lakers were able to do that next offseason with Hibbert and also chase the rest of the free agents that they want to chase, the Durants and now I suppose the Parsons and the Horfords and
Horford was a number. Yeah, Horford was the name that came up on my timeline today. The other thing too, the nice thing about Hibbert is you say he's 29, which just boggled my mind. My brain just kind of blew up in my head a little bit. I can't believe he's been in the league this long. But his game should age pretty well. He's not a big athlete, you know. He relies on verticality. He's just a big body, so you have to imagine, even at, you know, if they do give him a lengthy contract at the age of 30 or whatever, he'll age to, you know, at a rate that contract won't look terrible by its end, right, Harrison?
I mean, it probably won't look great that last year at age 34, but, like, yeah, I mean, not as terrible as someone who relies solely on their jumping ability. And then it also, like, a lot of that's predicated on him staying healthy, which, you know, as we know, 7-footers, once they start to get into their 30s, so, like, one injury can kind of do it, and you're just never the same again.
Yeah, that all makes sense. So I guess we'll wrap up here on what, you know, looking ahead. Now, you mentioned a couple of the pieces, you know, another wing. I'd like to get another point guard, an actual, something closer to a true point guard. And Lou Williams is slated as that third guard right now, and that's not ideal if he's going to be setting up any kind of offense with Clarkson potentially starting. So where are you looking aside from Darrell Wright? Would you say, Ben?
Yeah, Darrell Wright would be my main choice on the wing. I'm not particularly looking for a fifth guard in the rotation now. So remember, even with Kobe on the wing now, he's I suppose at this point will be starting at small forward. I mean, he's still going to handle the ball an awful lot, and I mean, and Russell and Clarkson will also handle the ball. Lou Williams also handle the ball. So I mean, there's not a lot of room in that space for kind of a point guard to fill. So I mean, if you consider the guard rotation a timeshare between Russell, Clarkson, and Lou Williams, and maybe throw Jabari Brown into that mix as well, there's not a lot of room for another guard to kind of come into the picture, especially since Randall will have to handle the ball. There's a lot of mouths to feed on the team. I mean, you could say they do need more shooting, but I'm not sure where another guard comes into the rotation.
Gotcha.
The only place where a guard would come in is if that guy was replacing Jabari Brown, since it's not guaranteed that Jabari Brown ultimately makes the team, although I think his chances are pretty high at this point. My main thing is get another wing, especially one who's semi-able on defense, since they don't have anyone that can do that at the moment. So even someone like Luke Richard Mute would work, even though he's kind of a zero offensively. He plays really good defense. So I mean, they would definitely have a use for him. So I mean, ideally they dump Young. They open the spot up for whatever new wing they want to get. Hopefully they dump Kelly. He's kind of superfluous point. Hopefully they dump Sakura. Same thing. So Black can get the backup center spot. But yeah, I mean, on the whole, the roster's mostly finished. The moves we're talking about are kind of roughing out the edges and the third string for depth purposes.
Right. If they're looking for a long wing defender, I feel like those kinds of athletes that you can kind of groom into that spot too, especially if it's like a second or third, or definitely a third string. I feel like those kinds of guys are available that kind of show good things in a summer league system anyway, right? So that'd be interesting to see if that takes place. Also, Harrison aside from the names and the positions Ben mentioned, could you see any kind of move that the Lakers to fill any kind of other glaring holes? I can't think of a glaring one.
No. I mean, I think it's like he said, with all the ball handling on the roster, I also don't really see them chasing another guard. I think that even when like Lou Williams comes in, he won't necessarily, even though he'll probably be like slotted in as point guard, he won't really be handling the ball or bringing it down all the time and initiating the offense, if that makes sense. I mean, I'm sure he will sometimes, but it's like if you send Russell to the bench and you keep Clarkson in, then that just gives Clarkson another chance to handle the ball if Russell had been doing it to that point.
Makes sense. So, I mean, I guess this pretty much wraps up one of the more successful off seasons that I'm not going to say in Lakers history, because there was that one where they got Shaq and Kobe that went pretty well, but for what we had heading into this year and then to where we are now, that's a pretty noticeable uptick in talent throughout the organization. So it's just fun to now be talking about the Lakers and be kind of excited to watch them play, right, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, if you think of the post Dwight Howard leaving to Houston as kind of ground zero, where we had almost no young players. We had just drafted Ryan Kelly, and he and Sakura were the only young players of note on the roster, and the rest of it was kind of these old pieces going to their 30s. Powell came in, a lot of reclamation projects like Wes Johnson, and now we've kind of stripped all that away, more or less. We have 2 top 7 picks, a handful of first rounders, handful of second rounders. I mean, it's all kind of fallen into place rather nicely. And of course, it's not to say that there aren't holes in the team, since there certainly are. But I mean, this is by and far, I mean, you look at the future of the team that's under. I mean, if you look at my preview, you keep on looking at the ages, the guy on the roster. I mean, no significant young player on the team is under 23. So I mean, yeah, the oldest is Clarkson and Black, and they're 23. So that's pretty exciting as far as the future's concerned here. So I mean, if they perform well this upcoming season, I mean, you have a much more compelling case to go to a Durant, go to a Parsons, go to a Horford, and say, hey, I know you're getting older, but we have these guys who are the ingredients for sustained success right here. We're LA. We're going to attract other big free agents, and even in the context, of the 2016 offseason, it's like you can come here and you can choose whichever other guy in the league who's currently a free agent that you want to play with, and we will go get it, since we have the ability to do that. So I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I guess the big blight on all this is Byron, even with his current quotes notwithstanding. It'd be nice to have someone else in the driver's seat, like a young coach, like a Dave Fizdale or from Miami, or what Quinn Snyder is now for Utah. That would be nice, managing things where he's growing with the team. He's kind of providing that nice foundation. But I mean, like I said, you can't have everything. So on the whole, I'm pretty happy. I mean, it's hard to see how, barring one of the big free agents coming here, that this could have gone much better.
Right, and yeah, I mean, in all the articles that I write, I mean, as I write them and I look at the rotation, it's just crazy to me that, yeah, I mean, on opening night, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch this team play, if they are put into place properly by Byron. But this summer league, right, starting tomorrow night, is just that's gonna be almost must-watch TV. I'd be interested about the rating that it does tomorrow, right, Harrison?
Yeah, you would think it would probably do better than they have the last couple of years, even.
Right.
Yeah.
There's some legitimate names throughout both rosters that tomorrow it's going to be awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. So that just about does it here for us. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you, Ben, for joining tonight, and great work on that piece for Silver Screen and Roll.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else coming down the line for the site?
I mean, as most people who follow me on Twitter know, during the draft, courtesy of Jerry Kachoyan, the Armo trader on Twitter, I got to go to the Lakers facility to watch the draft. That was a lot of fun. Got to kind of walk around, see the facility. So I have a piece on that that's sort of in the pipeline. I'm a law student in his 1L summer, so a lot of it's job stuff, and I've been kind of pushing it back. But I will try to get a piece on my impressions of the Lakers facility. I mean, and all of that up at some point. I still have to think of an interesting angle of how to get into it. But yeah, that's on the way.
Awesome. Well, that sounds like a bunch of fun, and I'm insanely jealous of that experience. Harrison, are you working on anything? Or are you just prepping for the summer league now?
Mostly prepping for summer league. So other than my team poll of Whataburger or In-N-Out, I got nothing.
Sounds good. So yeah, I'm in the same boat. Just getting ready for the excitement and the madness that'll probably ensue. So thanks guys for stopping by. Thanks everybody for tuning in. And yeah, next time you hear from us, we'll be in Vegas.
All right. Thanks, Anthony.
See ya. Are we good?
Nope, we are still live.